We are taking charge of every facet of our lives, and this is Take Charge with Sophie. It's been a long break and a long period of silence. I've not been feeding you with all the insightful videos you've been watching on a weekly basis. But I can assure you that I'm fully back now, and you can expect a lot of content bordering around thematic areas of your life that will help you take charge of every facet of your life. Today's episode, we'll be talking about common mistakes that people do in courtship that goes a long way to affect their lives in the future or that are deadly to their destinies. Let me ask this question. What would you say about those who commit themselves financially in a relationship because of the intention of getting married to the other? How about people starting building projects together, people supporting would-be in-laws because they feel like they will be getting married to that person? The question you should ask yourself is, if I commit myself financially to this relationship, am I willing enough to lose that kind of investment? What if the reason for which I'm investing does not happen? How would I take it? How would that affect my mental sanity? Time and time again, we've seen people complain about how they pick somebody from the gutter. When that happens, there are a lot of terms they use. I saw her or I saw him, I picked him from the gutter, I polished him, and today she says I am not his class, or I'm not her class, or he's not my type, and that kind of thing. You hear a lot of people ranting on social media, people crying, and a whole lot of things. But the question we need to ask ourselves is this preventable? Is this preventable? Is it that people have actually jumped the gun? They've gone ahead of themselves, or what? Even in marriages, there is divorce. So why would you start a relationship and commit yourself so much financially to it, to the extent of taking care of someone who you have not married yet, taking care of your in-laws, building houses and contributing to somebody's education and all that? If you are willing to commit yourself to things like this, then be ready for the outcome. You know there are a lot of uncertainties in life. That is what actually causes people to decide who they want to settle with differs from time to time. Maybe when the person is younger, the person has certain expectations, and maybe the person's taste and worldview may be small. But as time goes on, when the person's taste has changed, when the person has had a lot of exposure, all of a sudden you realize that the person's taste has changed, and the person may decide that no, this is not something that will actually help. How about those who commit financially to a relationship with persons who have very questionable characters? So would you say that you have committed resources to someone who has a very questionable character, and that person cannot be a partner that will help you raise godly children, or children that will impact the world positively? Will you still go ahead to marry the person because you have committed resources financially to them? These are some of the things we should be thinking. Anytime we are considering investing or committing resources to people we are yet to settle down with, the next thing we should think about is, what if this goes wrong? How is that going to affect my mental sanity? How is that going to affect me? And how much of my personal worth am I pushing into this whole thing? If maybe your net worth is maybe a million, and you push in maybe 100,000, that's like about 10% of your net worth. So how much of your personal net worth are you pushing into this thing that can go wrong or can actually go right? These are some of the things we need to ask ourselves. Most of the time you hear people pouring acid on their people that, okay, if I won't marry, then nobody else will marry you. We hear people abducting people because they feel like, if I can't have you, then no one else can have you, and all that. Don't you think this is all preventable? We are not saying that don't show kindness, or don't share with people who you are having a love relationship with. Sharing is caring. God is love. Even God said in John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave. Meaning that if you love, you have to give something. Should it necessarily be financial commitment? Sometimes you may not have the financial muscle to push someone, but you can help the person polish a bad aspect of his life and turn the person from somebody with a bad character to a good character. You have invested in that person. You may also even push the person that, okay, continue with your studies, maybe you can do better, guide the person, support the person, teach the person. There are different things that we can do to actually give a part of us, or to actually demonstrate that we care and we love people, instead of committing financially. And even if, like I said, you cannot have a meaningful relationship without committing financially to it, at least you take the person for a date, you buy some drinks, you do some small things. But those things, anything that will not take virtue out of you is accepted. But if you go beyond your means and you give your all. And there's another interesting aspect. People actually give, they see somebody through school and they spend so much on the person, but they don't upgrade themselves. How about those instances? If you have the financial muscle to believe in someone else's capability, how about investing that resources in you yourself, your own self, so that whilst you are building him or her up, you are equally building yourself. So when the time is up, you guys will be, be fitting for yourself, so that you can settle down peacefully. These are some of the things that we need to be looking at when we are committing resources financially. You are not married yet, you keep visiting your in-laws to be, and sometimes it is human nature for people to want to give attention to who gives more. There are very few families that will settle in for a guy who gives less most of the time. Most of the time, everybody wants comfort. Everybody wants their financial problems solved to some extent, even though there are other considerations. But the most important thing is that giving gives a sign that you could be able to properly take care of their child or their sister or their brother and all that. So if you are someone who starts giving in relationship, visiting and doing things and doing major renovations in the house of your in-laws, they will say, oh, this person can take care of my child. And because it's not a contract, because it is not guaranteed, if you do all this and it doesn't happen, who are you going to blame? I think as much as possible, we need to blame ourselves when we commit overly beyond our strength to this kind of relationship. Sometimes people go to the extent of renting for their beloveds and all that. Yes, you can support, and people even go to the extent of renewing the rent of their in-laws and all that. These are major investments that if you invest in your own self, it can go a long way to actually bless your life, or even prepare you to even take care of that person very well when you both settle down. So we need to be mindful of the financial commitments that we make in the name of love in relationship, because remember, it is not guaranteed and it can go bad. But if it goes bad, what is its impact on you? And you realize that the impact is actually determined by how much money you have committed to it. So all we've been talking about is that commit yourself to your partner or your beloved in relationship, but be mindful of the extent of financial commitment you push into that relationship. Just know that it can go bad. And also, don't let the financial commitments that you make in the life of somebody that you are dating or somebody you are yet to marry force you to marry somebody, even if you see red flags, like things that can affect your marriage in the future. Remember, marriage is far bigger than courtship. It has implication on your generations to come, because if you are not able to raise godly and impactful children, your whole name is going to be affected from one generation to the other. So yes, we need to love ourselves. Yes, we need to give freely in relationships, but let us not overly commit ourselves financially to people we are dating, so that in case it goes wrong, we do not end up becoming bitter, depressed, and even come up with a lot of philosophies that maybe women are bad, men are bad, and all that. Why would you allow yourself become a philosopher because of a mistake you have made by committing yourself too much to a relationship that you do not know would actually get to its next level? So thank you for watching this episode. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. See you in the next episode. Bye-bye.